Hi, my name is Alexander Martin, and I'm going to be discussing Liu E, who was a Chinese writer. Liu E is also known as Liu Tian, and he was born October 18th, 1857 in Jiangsu, China, which is on the east coast of China. And when he was a child, he was nicknamed that mad fellow, and that was by his friends and family and pretty much everyone he was around because he was actually a wild, rebellious, and very energetic child when he was younger. And even though he was a troublemaker, he was also very intelligent, and he was interested in music, philosophy, poetry, economics, and medicine as well. And while he was younger, he actually developed a knowledge of flood control. And that would later be his way into a position of influence. And I'll explain that later in the presentation. But he really saw himself as a young man who really was just wanting to help the cause of the nation of China. He really was just a man of the people, and he really cared about everyone's well-being and just wanted what was best for the people of China, and he wanted them to advance forward in a way that he thought was right. And in his early 20s, he joined a small religious group that combined elements of Confucianism, Taoism, Buddhism, and it's here where he really started to kind of grow up out of his mischievous nature, and he became much more disciplined and responsible at this time. And so during his 20s, there were actually a number of failed business careers and ventures that he went through. He tried to work with traditional Chinese medicine. He had no customers with that. That just did not work out at all. He gave up studying for his examinations that would allow him to enter the civil service, so he just gave up on that. He also tried to set up one of the first lithographic printing presses in China also, but he was involved in a big lawsuit, and the press went bankrupt. So eventually, later on in 1888, let's just say his luck started to change a little bit. The Yellow River flooded, and he actually went to work for the Director General of the Yellow River Flood Conservancy, because he knew so much about the floods and flooding from earlier in his life. He was honestly just a tremendous help to the Conservancy, and he provided a very innovative plan of action, which was very useful. His plan worked very well because, rather than being an official and working outside of the laborers and everything that's going on, he actually got his hands dirty, and he went into the field, and he gave them instructions and made sure they followed his plan accordingly. So he did very well with the Conservancy, and he actually became a high-ranking advisor in the flood control. And this is what kind of kickstarted his career in government. It was this flood role, his advising role, that really sparked his interest, and then that opened new doors for him. So now that he's in the government, he's got a government job, and he's starting this career, and he's starting to want to give people his ideas now that he's in the government. He's not just a businessman trying things out. He has a position of power, so he wants to expand his ideas and opinions and try to help out the government of China and give them new policies and whatnot. But he eventually actually severed his ties with the government for many reasons, which I will explain next. So as a government official, like I said, he began expressing his own ideas on many other subjects. And he believed that China needed to modernize its industrial and commercial methods, while not relying on foreign powers or governments. So he wanted it to be strictly China and themselves to evolve and advance into a new modernization, I guess. And he also favored building a railway system, and the majority of other officials they just did not agree with his ideas for either of those, the modernization of industrial and commercial methods and the railway system. The other officials just did not agree with his opinion. So he became very disgusted with their disagreement, and since they didn't like his ideas and opinions so much, he ended up resigning from the government and once again pursued many unsuccessful business ventures, and they were all dedicated to modernization. So now that he's out of government, he was, for example, he started a coal mine that never opened. He also had a department store that went bankrupt, a steam cotton mill, a steel refinery, and he also had a streetcar line as well. But all those just did not work out like his other ones before the government position. And eventually, after all these failed attempts, he finally found his calling, which is why he's famous now and known so well. So in 1904, he started working on a novel called The Travels of Liu Kan. And this novel became tremendously popular, and it was one of the most famous novels of that period that attacked both corrupt government and tradition. So he was really just hating on the traditional way of life and not expanding, and he just was not a fan of government after all his fall-throughs with them. So even though his novel was very successful and popular, it brought along a lot of enemies. It brought along a lot of enemies, and it was for its criticisms and condemnation of the traditions and government. That was why it was hated so much. So in 1907, he was actually falsely accused of treason and corruption, which resulted in him being sent 3,500 miles away to the northwestern area of Xinjiang. So he eventually died there 13 months later at the age of 52. So the book really was his downfall. It's what got him killed, but it also is the reason we remember him today. So he died August 23rd, 1909. So a quick summary of The Travels of Liu Kan, which was his famous work. It was about Liu Kan, who is a traveling medical practitioner, and he goes on a journey to really just fix all the problems that China is experiencing. So he attempts to correct injustices, change the outlook on how people think about women, and engage in philosophical discussions about China's future. So The Travels of Liu Kan was really just about a man looking for the betterment of China and its people. And okay, so what I really noticed was a very big, close-knit comparison between Liu Kan and Liu E. And they were both just so similar because they were balanced men of action and meditation who just really wanted to bring about change. And through Liu Kan, Liu E reveals his own beliefs. So in the story, Liu Kan dedicates his life to doing good. He has a hatred for tyrannical authority. He is very trusting and trustworthy, and he's honest. And the adventures of this story reflect on Liu E's life, on how he tried to bring about change in a corrupt and just stagnant society that was not changing. it not only shows the potential change for society, but also reflects the outward love and like really just the expression of ideas for the betterment of the people that Liu E showed and attempted to do, in his personal life. So the story really was just a huge reflection of his life, not only, but what he really wanted to show other people, of what he really wanted to do for China. So, as the story, The Travels of Lao Ken, really was almost an autobiography of Liu Yi's life. And it really just was, it was expressing his beliefs and opinions through sincerity. Sincerity was like just really what he was really getting at in the book, or the story, sorry. And it just, the sincerity was the thing that really got him killed, but it was the reason it was so renowned and popular. A lot of people might have been too scared to speak out in such a way, and he really just was giving his straight up ideas and opinions without worrying about the consequences. And it really, it's not only what made the book so popular and renowned, but it really was what resulted in his death and downfall.